So let's move on to the next segment. So what we'll do is we will go through the transfers which have happened in the off season, and we'll go club by club, and we'll discuss some of the movements in and out, and we'll take a few minutes to discuss how it will impact both the club and the Premier League. So let's do one thing. Let's start with the order from last season. So we'll start off with the champions, Man City. So uh, Rahul has been quiet and given his United allegiance. I think he can start off with Man City here.
Man City surprisingly has had a very quiet window, according to me. I have just have a feeling whether that 115 charges decision coming this year has influenced it. Quite a few of their stars were wanting to leave. Ederson, De Bruyne. Nothing happened, but I don't know. Maybe this year that result finally comes in, and there is something for the Premier League.
With Man City,
Definitely, they have a good score.
with just a quick, with Man City, I actually feel it's all about keeping the team together, right? Like they are the champions. They have been the champions for the last 4 years now. I mean, it's all about keeping your best players together and just adding those small one or two players who can be backups and who can add to the versatility of the team, right? So I don't think they went into the season thinking they want to make that big change in the team, right? I think the last big change they made was Haaland coming up front. But I think even if you see last year, um, hardly any major signings that way.
Guardiola was there.
Guardiola was there, yeah, and Doku was there. But again,
Basically, even if you have a super team like United used to have during Alex Ferguson days, if you remember, you had to rejig it a bit and you had to add something to it to just give everyone a little bit of a challenge also and a kick off the backside maybe just to keep them
On
there,
toes.
especially with the Arsenal challenge coming. I think so they needed to push and probably they will still do that just to keep everyone on their toes.
But where do you think there's scope of improvement in the team? Like I think they are
mm,
stacked like anything. They have good backups for them each end. So where do you think there can
The
be a signing?
central midfield. Rodri, if Rodri goes missing, I don't
Hmm.
think so. They have a proper backup there. And maybe he can the player would have come in. He could have played with Rodri, and I think so. They will still sign someone. But just the fact that they've been so quiet, and the fact that the news have already come in that the court case has been preponed and there's expected judgment in January.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so. It might be interlinked.
Who do you think can be a good replacement for Rodri in the number 6 position?
Not necessarily exactly the number six. Maybe I think so. They are currently there is news about Bruno Gomares, and they are being linked with it. So a big midfielder signing who can probably dictate the tempo if the Rodri
Hmm.
misses would be the one.
you're right. Rodri is
So if
actually
we
You
very
look
wanted.
at,
crucial for them.
yeah, so if we look at Man City, right? If I look at the progression of Man City over the last few years, I think they are the only club which can completely change their game of play, the
Mm.
patterns of play within a year. So if we remember Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, they started off in a particular way of playing. So Jesus was like a false nine, or he was working along the wings, and he was providing more opportunities for people around him. And similarly, Zinchenko became an inverted fullback, and he was coming into midfield and he was getting the ball forward. And then suddenly, City signed Haaland, and the entire gameplay changed. Like I remember distinctly the first 3, 4 matches which City played with Haaland. Uh, Guardiola got furious at Foden for not passing the ball to Haaland in the
Yeah.
middle and going for the goal himself because he was used to playing in a particular style, and everyone in the team had to change their style according to Haaland, which
Mm.
unfortunately I have not seen many managers do. So when Chelsea signed Lukaku, we could not do that. Similarly, when other clubs sign big players, the other big player kind of gets sidelined. But the plan which Guardiola has, that is, it is remarkable, right? He completely changes and transforms the team within the off season, within the season, and they get results. Similarly, one of the biggest strategic tactical moves which I saw last year was John Stones going from center back, coming into center midfield, becoming a double pivot, and essentially making that overload in the middle, which I have not seen happen anywhere in the Premier League for sure. Like I'm sure in Spain, this may be possible because of the quality of the players, especially at the back. But in the Premier League, this was unheard of. So starting with inverted fullbacks coming into midfield, and now center back coming into midfield and dominating the kind of way that he has done. So I feel there are two, three components here. Number one, you can't replace a Rodri. Like, I'll give you two specific examples. I've seen Busquets and Rodri play live. The way these guys have awareness of what is around them, you can't find players like that anymore. Like it's very rare. So you have to again change something in your team in terms of formation, in terms of tactics to kind of maybe not replace like to like, but like maybe Rahul said, maybe a Gimaresh coming in will give them that added creativity and they have to then look at how to integrate other players around them. The other two factors which I feel, so I have a very different opinion. I feel City are worse off this season compared to last season for a couple of reasons. One, the move of Julian Alvarez. I think Alvarez brought a lot of balance to the City side because Haaland is a direct, target man, like what Ishan mentioned as well. He is a specific player for a specific position. In certain games, when that tactic is not working out for them, Alvarez used to step in, and when Haaland was injured, Alvarez used to step in, and there was very less drop in quality. Everything seemed seamless. Alvarez could be the number nine, he could be in a number 10 space, he could be on the wings, and he was able to provide so much of quality from every position. And I think City is really going to miss a player like Alvarez. Number two, De Bruyne is now 32, 33, if I'm not wrong. And I think he wants one final big contract, whether it's with City or whether it's with Saudi Arabia or wherever it is. I think his influence is still there, but his injuries have kind of taken a toll on his overall performance over the last couple of years. Because if a player is going to be injured for a large amount of the season, coming back in and then going back out becomes very difficult. One player which has really impressed is Doku. Like the kind of fast wing play, the aggression, the one-on-one movements which he has, I think he can be a really influential player. And again, one thing which is always hanging around in City is Bernardo Silva, because for me, he
Yeah.
is one of their best players, but every season there's a rumor linking him to Barcelona or away from the club. And somehow I think when he leaves, it's going to create a huge gap again in Man City. So if I look at it this season, they have signed a very good player in Savinho. He's come from Girona, which was actually, he was a loan signing there from Troyes, which is again one of their sister concerns. But I think Savinho has what it takes to kind of be a very, very good Premier League player. But the loss of Alvarez and maybe the injury record or maybe the entire narrative around KDB and Bernardo Silva, I think that will play an influence this season.
Savinho is another example of how City bent the rules.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, coming back to City, I think a lot of things are up in the air. Firstly, as Rahul bhai mentioned, the legal case that's going on. Secondly, Guardiola's future. I think he being in his last year of contract, plus De Bruyne being in his last year of contract, Bernardo Silva, we hear his rumors every summer window that he's trying to move. He's trying to move. Earlier, he was linked to Barcelona, then to PSG, but that never happened. So I think it's time for new crop of players at City to come in and take the responsibility. I think Guardiola maybe at the end of his tenure, KDB again. You never know. I think he would want a big contract, and I think he'll move to Saudi or somewhere. Bernardo Silva might move. So I actually saw Julian Alvarez as the next big thing in City. Like he could be that player, one of the pivotal players who will continue to do well at City. But unfortunately, he has moved now. He had that caliber also. So around whom do will they build the next team now? I think Haaland can also potentially leave in the next season. Maybe uh, his agent might have inserted a release clause and he can move to some club like, if things improve, like Barcelona, where he can compete with the likes of Mbappe and create that rivalry. I think Barcelona would be dreaming of such moves in a season or so, because I think they are coming back to that 1:1 rule by raising some sponsorships and some asset sales. So any new player moving to City, it's going to be a challenge. Uh, but they have to make moves now. I think till the time Guardiola is there, I think they have a lot of pull power over there. So any good moves, uh, they need a new Rodri, they need some midfielders. Only player I can think where City can make the team around for a long term is Phil Foden. He's that player where a City can make the team revolve around. You never know with Haaland and the kind of player he is. And plus the agent Rafaela Pimenta, who is very famous for negotiating hard with the clubs. You never know with them. So he could be on a move. I can see it's very believable that he can move to a club like Barcelona in the future. So they
Okay.
have to start signing players now. I recently read that Oscar Bob has fractured his leg, who was supposed to have, and he's out for a few months now. So he was supposed to have that breakthrough season for them this year, but I think they will look for that right winger or an attacking player as a signing right now. They have time, like for more 2 weeks to go, so they have time to sign some good players and upgrade their squad.
Okay. So
That's it.
one interesting thing with both City and Arsenal is that they actually have a very low number of first team players, and all the teams around them seem to kind of get their signings wrong, and they eventually end up with bloated squads.